Welcome, one and all, to the first episode of Lunar Wisdom Gaming News. I'm Jonathan. You may recognize me from the world famous Escape podcast I do with Christian, but here I'm with Uncultured Swine Entertainment, world famous extraordinary YouTuber, and today we're talking about some gaming news you just don't get anywhere else. You could say this gaming news is out of this world. You will not find this information in any magazine or website or YouTube channel. It is all right here. So don't touch that dial. Uncultured Swine, or Ben, as they say. Tell me, what's the word on the streets?
Rolls off the tongue.
Oh yeah.
We all know it's here. The PS4 is dead. The Xbox One is dead. The Switch is only 2 years old. And people are already wanting to replace it. I all know you're all thinking of it. The era of video games is over. Well, think again, because our savior has returned one last time to save the day. From the company who revived the industry of searches, glasses, cars, and sex drives, it's the Google Stadia. It's so simple that the Chromebook, also known as the cheapest piece of crap in the world, can play even the most complex of 8-bit games.
You heard it here first, folks. Soon, we're going to be able to play Pac-Man streamed straight to your Google Pixel cell phone with only a 1-second delay.
And they got this new controller. It doesn't connect to your own device. It connects to Google's own servers, just like anything. Okay,
No, from what I
ran out of steam.
The way it works, folks.
This is so on the front of the edge that even I, someone who knows everything in the gaming world, doesn't even know. This is top secret information. I think John has.
It's so complex, but I'll describe it the best I can. The way the Google controller works is that it connects directly to the internet, and not to your device. No. It directly to the internet, and the signal goes into space off of 2 satellites off the surface of the sun, back to Mars, back to Earth, and you control your game with only a 15-minute delay. Now tell me, does that not sound like the future?
Well, I'll tell you, it does sound like the future, John. You see, Google's top competitor, Amazon, has something even more futuristic on their hands coming out. You see, Google thinks they're so clever streaming the video of the video game. Well, Amazon's thinking, why do we even need a screen? You see, they're having an idea to put implants in your brain so that you don't even need a device to stream. It just streams into your head. You just have the experience in your head. You don't even need a screen. You don't even need a controller either. The game practically plays itself. Is that not what gamers want?
They say some conspiracy theorists out there say that we live in like the Matrix, right? Like, how do we know if life is real? How do we know if mirrors are real, if our eyes aren't real? So how do we know we're not already years and years deep into this Amazon experience? We could have been playing this game our whole lives. We wouldn't even know it.
Well, I think we know it. I think that's too deep of information for our viewers to know, though.
But if we play this game we're in the simulation already. For all we know, we could be. If we go into this Amazon simulation in our heads, we could be 2 layers deep into a simulation, perhaps even 3 or 4. Maybe
It's a very good point.
We're in Google simulation, and in Google simulation, Amazon bought ad space in Google simulation to put their own simulation in that simulation. So we're in the Google simulation, and we're getting ready to line up to pay money, only $50 a month, to stream Amazon's simulation within this simulation.
It doesn't even end there. It doesn't even end there, John.
Microsoft simulation inside of the Amazon simulation. And then inside of Microsoft simulation, inside of Amazon simulation, inside of Google simulation is Nintendo Labo VR Kit 4. And then that's the deepest it goes.
I'm afraid Microsoft's already dead. And with it, all of us are already technically dead too. But luckily, you viewers aren't, because there's something even bigger than Amazon or Google. It's because the return of this company. You may have heard of them before. It's Atari. The company, you may have heard of them from the 70s. They weren't very big then, but you probably know them from the Atari Jaguar. That one system that toppled the super duper Nintendo Entertainment System.
And
They are returning with their own new system, which is so ingenious it just won't get released at all. You probably already know what's going to happen, so they're just not even going to bother releasing it. And I just think that's a genius move by them.
that's really good marketing. The fact that they have so much money that they can afford to with withstand the product at all. Like they don't even need a physical product or a source of income. They can just have the concept on the internet, and that's enough for us to enjoy.
Very true.
Now, what about the?
Yeah, is it?
You said the PS4 is dead and the Xbox One is dead. What about the upcoming, already confirmed, PlayStation 5 and The Last of Us Part 3 or Crackdown 6? What are your opinion on those?
I think that,
I do. I understand.
yeah, I know.
And okay,
Yeah, they're
of
good.
course, fuck it. Banjo 3 got announced for the PlayStation 6. And
Very true.
uh,
Who's buying a PlayStation 6 when we already know a PlayStation 8 is on the horizon?
I mean, I've already got my PlayStation
not-
10 pre-ordered. I don't know what
It's
you're
a-
talking about.
This is just terrible marketing. Like, why buy the PS9 now when I know that 40 years from now there's going to be a PlayStation 16? Like, what are they thinking?
I don't know. All I know is that I'm very by that time, not yet though, because it's not out yet. But by that time, I'm going to feel very nostalgic for the PlayStation 7 days. I just think that'll be the
Yeah.
highlight of gaming in general, where Stony
Yeah, those
State of Play Part 700 is out, and it's finally no longer a disappointing piece of shit. And they actually managed to announce good games. But the twist is that they're all still VR games, and that's the only thing that exists at that time. So we have no other choice but to accept fucking Ant-Man VR is going to be good.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's very important to remember that PlayStation will one day actually release a sequel to the original PlayStation VR, which has just been carrying its weight greatly, but I think by the time they get to PlayStation 80 that we can expect the PlayStation VR 2, and I think that people should save their money for that one, because that'll be the real winner.
I don't know why you wouldn't have it pre-ordered already. I mean, I've already got it pre-ordered from the black market in Japan. Or better yet, I can play the PlayStation 5 already from the Chinese bootleg market. It's the same thing. But what do you think?
And speaking of pre-orders, GameStop, they closed about 8 years ago. But rumor has it that we are going to get a sequel to GameStop, GameStop 2, the movie. Your thoughts?
Here comes the money. Money, money. Yeah, of course, GameStop is not the blockbuster of video games by any means. They're a multi-billion-dollar company and will be around for a long time. Although I'm eating my words right now because I'm watching them condemn the GameStop next to my house, and it looks as if it's been closed for several years. However, they just put up a sign just now that says GameStop 2, the movie coming soon, and I'm wondering, will this be a immersive cinematic experience?
I gotta imagine so. Yeah, they've already released trailers for such an experience, and I say there has been a lot of complaining that it just looks the same as the first GameStop. But I think once they actually you see, it's very early in production right now. I think once they kind of come out with a redesign, and a lot of people didn't like the design of the main character, but once they put a little more production money in, I think this is going to be a high quality product that will maybe stick around for another 5 years, just long enough that they can get out of GameStop 3 before the
I
market
agree.
runs out.
GameStop 2, the movie. I hear Uwe Ball is directing this one. Director of the Blood Rain and In the Name of the King movies. He's directing this new GameStop movie, and I agree with what some of the complaints people are coming out with. I think the plot looks very interesting in my opinion, but the CGI is not very good.
Yeah. The biggest
uh,
problem I have,
Ryan
I just think,
Ryan Reynolds as a CEO was a weird choice, I will say.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can't stand the. They just didn't get the font of the GameStop right, true to the original,
It
and I
looks
think that's
more
hurt.
like the Smashburger logo than the GameStop
Right.
logo. It's lowercase. I don't know what the fuck that's
Right.
all about.
I think that it might just be something where you need to have a change, a new direction, change the director, and I think that we can have a really quality product on our hands.
Yeah, but if my problem with the change of director is that like one half of the movie is going to look a certain way, and the other half of the movie, I mean the store, is going to look another, and it's like the style might be inconsistent, but it's been done right before with the proper training. Any director can be as good as Stanley Kubrick when he directed GameStop Part 1, the spin-off, GameStop Rogue One.
Oh yeah. That one was another one where a lot of the longtime GameStop fans were a little annoyed, but when you really get to the nitty gritty, it's a serviceable product, and I think that people didn't give it the right amount of chance to.
Right. Some say that the GameStop spinoff, the GameStop Cinematic Store universe, is decent in its own right, but not a good GameStop store. Yeah, if you catch my drift.
Yeah. Right. Like another people have complained about is just the merchandising has been pathetic lately, and to the point that they just quit carrying stuff. Like you go back to the glory days of GameStop when you had the GameStop controller and the GameStop wheel. Now there's just nothing, and yet you see other companies release other movies and their merchandise, like the movie Power A, the movie, and
Mad Cats.
Hori, the movie.
The Mad Cats reboot, remember?
Oh yeah, iCaps at games.
Yeah, I think. In all seriousness, is Mad Cats seriously at games?
No, I hope not.
I thought they were the same people for a second.
Maybe they are.
Fuck, I hope so. But I blame the Disney buyout.
The next time.
That
was just a terrible moment for GameStop fans across the country.
Yeah, when they decided to put the comics out of print in favor of concentrating on the cinematic world more, I was pretty disappointed with it. Some people are okay with it, but I really think that sentimental feel is definitely gone with GameStop the series now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the moment they lost their old CEO. Some fans weren't super happy with him lately, but I think they just were too focused on the past and not what they had, and now they're really regretting.
Yeah, ever since
what's happened.
Since Reggie Fils GameStop announced his retirement and Doug Bowsett took the throne, I'm really not sure where things are going now. But of course, I will be in only a few seconds because this is the gaming news of the future, baby.
Oh yeah, and I don't think it'd be too much of I don't think it'd be too far to think that we will be seeing a new GameStop CEO here coming up.
What about a female GameStop CEO?
That'd be interesting, but I think that I think it's definitely feasible. But I feel like a lot of our the fan base isn't happy with other female CEOs, unfortunately. I think that it could be a good move, but I don't know.
For the right female for the job is definitely capable of doing the GameStop many favors. However, I know GameStop has a bad history with gaming creeps that never get out of the house and female employees. I think having one as the highest up position would be a bold choice.
Oh yeah, but given that GameStop 2, the movie has now been canceled. I think by the time it was canceled now. Just breaking news.
Well, shit. I guess I have to go. That means I have to now settle for EB Games Part 3, the Awakening, which is like the Asylum equivalent of the GameStop trilogy. So I'm just
pretty much.
Yeah, it's like the DC cinematic universe of video game cinematic stores. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with a good foreign film every now and again.
Oh yeah, I think I would love to see one of my personal favorites in the comic world. One I'd love to see go in the cinematic is Play It, Trade It. Early on I didn't care for them that much. So their branding's pretty weak, but once you actually get in and know them, they've got a lot of selection. They appreciate their past a lot more than GameStop did, and I think that it's helped them gain a lot of loyal fans that I think could lead well to the cinematic universe.
That's right. I mean, it's noticeably lower budget, and they don't hire as good of actors, but it really does have that charm and love that that GameStop once had in the past, when they were in the same position. And now it's just not as corporate. And some people prefer that. Some people aren't as into it. I don't know. How do you feel towards indie films, Ben?
I think they definitely have their place. A lot of them are lower, or sometimes you can run the risk of getting like a or people aren't super in the know or kind of out of date with low stock, but you also have a good chance to find a rare find, and I think that's definitely worth the visit.
With Play It, Trade It, you're more likely to have a rare find. Like my new favorite game, I've been playing it all day, is Mother 4 on Sega Mega Drive.
Oh yeah,
I mean, just an absolute classic. I don't know why anyone doesn't talk about that game.
Right, that was really what helped the Sega Genesis prove that Nintendo Genesis, just because people have been waiting for Nintendo to release Mother 5 for centuries now, and Sega just decided we're gonna take it, and Nintendo didn't even fight him off. It was they apparently just didn't have any value in the franchise, and Sega really put the shit on them.
Did you just break something?
No, I did not break anything.
I'm gonna break my neck. That wasn't as loud as I hoped it'd be. Let me give it another shot. There goes all my water bottles. But I agree.
Speaking of, you were saying?
Well, I was going to say, like, Mother 5 coming soon for the Atari Dreamcast has been anticipated since about the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and I think a trailer for it just dropped. Ben, can you dive into your Google simulation, watch this trailer without having to, just in a blink of an eye, and then give me your thoughts?
Well, okay, I've seen it. I think that they're taking a lot of risks with this. This is just something nice and refreshing to see. A Sonic team has had a history of just recycling all the bad things and not bringing back all the good things. So for once, it seems like they're actually bringing back the good things with this new movie / game.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit experimental. It reminds me of Kingdom Hearts 7. Having Hank Hill as the main character was a bold choice in that game. But with Mother 5, where they finally have the gay North Korean furry representation the fan base has been begging for.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Inclusiveness. And you play
did you notice that? You notice in one frame of the background, you can actually see Barney the dinosaur in the game, which I think if he's a playable character, this is a game changer for the Mother 3 Dynasty.
Fuck, I didn't notice that. To be able to play as Barney the dinosaur and take your helmet off in the middle of the show and terrify children across the world, I think would be a very interesting scene in this game. But I have to wait until I get my hands on it to see if you can actually take the helmet off in the game and turn it into a VR experience where you become Barney and breathe fire all over the town like Godzilla, but Barney.
Yeah. So a bold choice to. It seems they're finally leaving the outdated RPG format and going into the flight simulator format, which it's about time. It's been they've been behind the curve there.
That's just the natural evolution. Whenever I play a like in one of those old school turn-based RPGs like Digi Bro or Pokey Fantasy 7 on the Atari Jaguar CD. I play those games and I see that turn-based combat and I think turn-based more like air-based. Why can't this take place with planes? It's just the natural evolution. It's the same genre. I don't see the big deal. Why all these old games haven't been remade into flight simulators just yet? It's ridiculous. But I'm really digging this Mother 5 trailer.
Oh yeah, I've already watched it 5,000 times at this point. I don't think there's anything I haven't noticed yet, and yet there's just so many things to talk about that they dropped. I think it's a big thing to note that they actually killed off Lucas during the trailer, which is something I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of back off from that, but I think it's going to draw a lot of attention to this game and really boost the sales come release date in
when
3040.
The poster, well, that's not too far off, but
yeah,
the poster for Mother 4 is of Sans from Mother 3.5 holding Lucas's fucking decapitated head with the blood spilling out.
Yeah.
And it says, Mother 4, you're going to have a bad time.
Oh yeah. I would hate to see them pull back the death though. If they stick to the death that they haven't even animated yet, then that would just be I would have to applaud them for a bold move like that.
If you zoom in on this poster of Sans holding up Lucas's dead fucking head, you can see a ghost of Lucas's mother in the background welcoming Lucas into the afterlife. And people are saying that there's going to be a segment in the game where you play as Lucas in the afterlife trying to avenge you and your mother. And that's the final boss.
Yeah.
I think that'll be a very interesting take on this series.
Oh, yeah. Of course, you also have to remember that they brought in the new crossover with Big the Cat. I think that this is going to be a great way to show his co-op abilities. You know how in the game PlayStation All-Stars, how Isabelle uses the fishing rod. Well, Big the Cat's rod is even bigger, and I think that and just seeing how that interacts with Ness's gameplay should be really interesting to see.
Well, fishing for Ness is or Lucas, whatever you said, is very tricky because you can only hook him by the asshole. And that's the only way to catch him, and like you have to like first remove the swim trunks. It's very controversial, but they have aged Lucas / Ness to be
rumor has it
over 18 in this game, so it should be fine.
Actually, what I'm hearing from my inside sources, this is actually going to be the first game for Sega to release that actually gets the early childhood rating, which I think that's a pretty bold move for Sega to expand its range for that younger demographic.
the first 30 hours of the game are just them teaching the audience their ABCs. It really picks up after that, trust me.
Oh yeah.
And that's all the ESRB could stand. So they just gave the game they said fuck it and gave it the early childhood setting, and that's how we ended up to where we are now. But I'm getting another signal in my simulation. I just blinked and I saw it. They announced the long-awaited Fallout 77.
That's shocking. I can't believe they
revived this dead franchise.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
I thought they nuked it, but Fallout 77.
It's also an interesting move considering their last one was Fallout 78. You know that sometimes companies they wanted to commemorate the you see they considered the number 7 to be sacred, and so they decided to skip over 78, but I guess they want to really make sure that audiences know this is going to be the one, so they use that 7, and they have some high expectations to meet, I think.
Yeah, when Fallout skipped from Fallout 76 all the way back centuries ago in 2018, and decided to make their next game the Fallout 78, kind of like how Anubis 2 is actually Anubis 1. Okay. That's the only example I can think of that happening, but this actually is like a prequel to Fallout 78, and it takes place between Bethesda having respect for their customers and Bethesda lighting bags of dog shit on their front porch. And this will be an interesting in between where you play as Tom Howard himself, going door to door with a lighter and bags of dog shit, and a sign that they leave in the mailbox that says no refunds.
Yeah, I think that Tom Howard, it's the kind of game character you just gotta see in Sega, the Sega Master Players Battle Royale. You just gotta bring in Tom Howard. I don't see how they can release their next game and not have him.
Yeah, the Tom Howard DLC for Fallout 77, the graphics, I gotta say, look incredibly realistic. I don't know how they handled this, since Bethesda has been using the same game engine since 2006, but here they are in the current year of 3019, and we have to signal this all the way back in time to 2019. It's gonna take forever to render, by the way, but it doesn't matter because we have time travel. But it looks as if the game footage on this, where he's leaving the bags of shit on the front porches, it looks as if it was actually filmed with a phone camera. I don't know how they managed to achieve that in this game's graphics, but they somehow did it, and it looks incredible. I can't wait to play it.
Definitely. I just can't see how they're going to be able to price this at a price people can afford of how much money they're going to be putting into the development. Games are typically $6,000 a piece, but if they want to make a profit on this, I can't see them charging less than $1 million per disc. And I think that could really hurt their final sales number, unfortunately.
Yeah, it could, but that's only from people who can't. Everyone's going to want it, but is everyone going to be able to afford it? Only the middle class or higher. But then again, I mean, like the lower class, do they even deserve games? Who cares?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's just a shame that a year ago games only costed 10 cents with how the game market was looking, but now you look at it for the inflation, just you never know. Like gas prices could be, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. Why a game?
Well, I prefer the if you take your computer and monitor to any gas station, set it up, and play the game, and you see the gas prices in the game, they compensate for the gas prices in the game. That's why
Oh, definitely.
That's why I don't leave the house without
It's just the realism.
My copy of Resident Evil 2 remake, where the gas is $1.50. Which is the 3019 equivalent of like half a penny. So
I never leave my house without Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Just never know when the game is trying to rip you off with outrageous gas prices.
Well,
it could be that they're just a day behind already. $800 difference in gas from the day before.
For extra realism, if you bring a game like
Definitely.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey to a gas station, they don't mark down the gas prices for you. They bring out an officially Ubisoft branded camel that they just burned the Ubisoft logo into the hump of, and it looks very unfed and starved to death, but it is an official Ubisoft camel, which means it's high quality. And
that's good.
You can ride the rest of the highway on this camel, and it really
It just got to go fast. And speaking of gas prices, I had just received word that the Earth has run out of gas, so no more gas in Fallout 79. On that note, a game that doesn't require any gas, because what are cars? F-Zero, I've heard, has just released their new trailer. Your thoughts?
Well, seeing that this is kind of like the Gears of War 4 of F-Zero games, where you're no longer playing as Captain Falcon. You're playing as Captain Falcon's son, who happens to be Elon Musk. And all of the cars in F-Zero are Teslas. And they're all electric and self-driving, which means you turn on this new F-Zero game, and the graphics are beautiful. It looks amazing. But you set the controller down, and the game just plays itself.
It's just a really relaxing experience.
Yeah, it's fun.
Like, that's really important.
Many people turn on the multiplayer for this game, and they just let their controllers down, and they bid on it like horses. But it's interesting to me to see that this self-driving car technology has gone into the world of video games, even a series like F-Zero. Nintendo hasn't had an F-Zero game since 1963. I don't even know. So it's interesting to see them a millennium later here.
It's just super progressive of them, just showing how much how accepting they are of these self-driving cars. I know that there's been a lot of like, I've been seeing some segregation. Like, they have these designated parking spots for electric cars. What year do these people think it is? But I think this is a step in the right direction from Nintendo. I think that we could see the end of prejudice towards these electric cars because of this move.
I agree 100%. I think the only weird thing about the game is having Bayonetta as a playable character in the same game, where you can play as Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank. And it all takes place in the Jack X Racing universe. I don't know how they even managed this this crossover, but we are the future of gaming, and we know what happens in the future.
Hey, did you see the new character they released in this latest trailer too?
Yeah, it's
a blink and you miss it moment. I'm not talking about where they announced.
It's Coach from Team Fortress 2.
Who?
It's the guy from Team Fortress 2. Remember?
Well, he was an assist trophy in the last game, so they're not really counting that.
Right.
What I'm talking. You had to wait for the post-credit scene. It's when they announced that Bubsy 3D would be in this game. I think that is
like Bubsy's 3D model from the Bubsy 3D game.
No, just Bubsy 3D.
The game,
the game,
the jewel case driving a car.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. That's kind of a shocking choice, but I mean, it's such a classic game. Everyone remembers it from their childhood. And
Oh, definitely.
If you
It's a,
look back at some of their previous hints on Twitter 2000, the Twitter follow up back when Twitter crashed, they had to make a new one.
oh yeah.
I mean, they've been hinting at this for years. I don't know how you could have missed it.
It's just kind of self-explanatory. I mean, you look at a character that's had he won the golden he won some award, and people have wanted to commemorate it. The award just wasn't enough to represent just how fantastic that game is, and now he's a playable character in the newest edition in the F-Zero franchise. And personally, I think this game could still use some more respect, but this is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think, especially with the microtransactions where you can pay to, you have to pay $1 a month to ensure that Bubsy doesn't spout catchphrases throughout the entire game. And the odd thing is that he would still shout catchphrases even if you weren't playing as him. But I think for $1 a month, it's a good deal.
Yeah, he said. You think about some of the classics he says. Like he says, pilot's license, what for? And now it's actually funny because he doesn't need a pilot's license because it's a self-driving car. And that's just a knee slapper.
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny. Yeah. I mean, he says, like, stuff like radiator, more like radiator because he's a bobcat and he roars. But
I think that this game not only will sell itself as a racing experience, but just as a general comedy performance for the ages. Just if you have to pay for that little DLC to make sure you get him. I also saw that now you can get DLC to not only add characters but remove characters. You can pay for the game in-game to violently murder racers that you don't like permanently. It's a really revolutionary move. Like usually you have like all these 1-ups and game overs and stuff. You just revive. Now you can just permanently kill people you don't like.
That's a good idea because when I'm playing a game like Mario Party, for example, I wish I see someone like Daisy and I think, fuck, if only I could remove this character permanently from the Mario franchise. I would gladly pay $50+ for DLC that turns the game briefly into Mortal Kombat, and you can just tear, even in like the E-rated Mario art style, you just watch Luigi pick up Daisy by the chin and rip her spine out, and then you go back and you can never play as Daisy again, even if you put in your classic previous Mario Party entries into your fully backwards compatible modern Nintendo system that plays every Nintendo game ever made.
And rumor has it, if you can actually buy amiibos of these dead characters, and if you connect them to other people's systems, it'll kill them on that system too. And so basically, you can just commit mass genocide in the real world, which is just a brilliant move by Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of how that works. Daisy's not a real person just yet. Technology hasn't gotten that far. I know there's very good replicas at the sex robot cafes in China, but
and so it's not just Daisy either. Like there's Bowser, and you can actually kill the CEO of Nintendo America now, which is
by using the Bowser amiibo.
That was really forward thinking by Nintendo consider to let the people kill their Nintendo of America CEO. Like
how is that man still alive at this point? I mean,
yeah. It's just a ticking time bomb. Reggie dropped, he gave up his job several times, and they expect Bowser to do the same, but clearly he's not.
Well, since Reggie has recently come back as Nintendo CEO of America when his entire family, he outlived his entire family because he took this immortality pill in the 2060s. And he regrets it deeply because he outlived his kids and his wife, but now he's a brain on a robot's head, Alita Battle Angel style, and he says he will rule Nintendo first, Nintendo today, tomorrow the universe, until the heat death.
Oh yeah.
He says he'll roll, will be under his command
He's
forever. All hail.
He's pretty much just a real life Andross, and on that note, they might we better not see any Andross amiibos coming out. Hopefully.
Yeah, and as long as we don't say anything negative about him, I mean, I won't get eviscerated in my sleep. So.
Oh yeah. Some people think he's going to dress up as a monkey, but I think that's a little below Reggie. I think he's going to stick to his I don't think we can comprehend what Reggie is thinking right now. He's just, his intellect is even higher than ours, and that's really saying something.
I have this recorded message from Reggie right here.
You do?
Yeah. He says his plans for the universe.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it's not available by blinking into the Amazon simulation in and out of reality. So I have it on cassette right here. He says,
"Hi, Nintendo fans. Reggie here.
And I just think this is beautiful. A step in the right direction.
He really speaks to me. He speaks so fast that if you don't have the Amazon simulation going through you, and you can just slow it down to just frames per second, so you can really understand what he's saying. But clearly he thinks his time is short on this earth. He probably knows something we don't, that he needed to speak that quickly.
Well, despite the immortality in the cyborg body from future Alita Battle Angel technology, it's possible that, like, since after a certain amount of time, his brain could shut down, and he knows that that could happen in the future. And the thing you said about lowering the footage down frame by frame, what are your opinions on the current 60 million frames per second monitors? And does it bother you when they lag down to 59,999,999 frames? Does that bother you when playing a very precise competitive game like Smash Brothers Ultimate Deluxe Turbo Drive? I mean, I think that frame rate issue can really break the game.
Of course. I think that it's reasonable to feel that way, but if you haven't upgraded yet to the 120 frames per second monitors, then I don't think you have any reason to complain. I think it's your own fault that it's lagging.
That's a possibility. I might need a slight upgraded graphics card. I just got a new one yesterday, but I may need the new one that came out today, of course. And it's just like a really inconvenient expense to constantly get a new graphics card. But however, I will. I'm willing to pay whatever it takes to make sure I get that locked 60 million frames per second.
Of course, rumor also has it that Google's also going into the virtual graphics card
so I can
industry.
Just download a new graphics card?
Yeah, you just download it.
Download more RAM?
Of course. Why would...
Fucking...
Where's the logic in not... You take... when you're in the world of a simulation, then I could just download if my keyboard breaks, I'll just download a new one.
Well, back in the days of Stadia, and I'm not memeing here, I'm not joking, this is something that actually could happen. Let's just say, hypothetically, with Stadia coming up, you could, maybe like the starter kit is like $10 a month, right? And you're on like a 4 gigs of RAM computer streaming to your computer. But then like you upgrade to like $12 a month, and now you get like PS4 quality gaming to your Google Chrome Generation 1 tablet. But then like if you, in order to quote unquote download more RAM, you just pay like $20 a month, and now you have like 16 gigs of RAM and more memory and power. Like that's actually something I can see happening, like for real.
And it's world changing. Like Google's also going into this. They're looking into a way to download a bigger screen just instantly. Like they've come up with this technology where it can just turn in regular glass or plastic into a display, And I think this is going to really be devastating blow for Nintendo. They just might buy them up completely. Because, and you look at their Switch, the screen only takes up about, I don't know, 1/10 of the total tablet. It's a real shame that they didn't better utilize it.
Well, there's rumors going around of a new Switch model, a Switch Mini, a Switch Pro, if you will, where the screen just continues into the buttons and Joy-Con, and the whole thing is just screen, but the buttons are still there. It's just the screen goes over top the buttons, and I think that could be a very immersive experience, even on the go, to have my entire tablet be a monitor, even buttons and all. I think that could be very.
And some people might complain that you can't see stuff underneath the buttons, but if you're that picky, then maybe you should just go ahead and buy a portable TV that you can carry everywhere. I think that if you're going to be that picky, just spend the extra money.
I mean, I completely agree. I don't know how you don't just download or install or order from Amazon's virtual service, just a portable TV that hovers in front of you on a propeller, and it'll just follow you wherever you go. You can play it on your Uber drive to Jupiter, and
and that's why I think that it's really important that Nintendo released this so-called Nintendo Switch Pro to an audience that maybe didn't think before that they were willing to spend more money on this, but once they see just how immersive this is, they'll just want to buy more and more to make it even immersive.
Absolutely, it's incredibly immersive, and I don't want to get political on this gaming news podcast, Lunar Wisdom Gaming News of the year 3019. But how do you feel towards this new bill that John Kasich the 19th has imposed on our nation, where instead of instead of aborting children, they just immediately take them out of the womb and put them in a lifelong VR system to be in an alternate reality for the rest of their lives? How do you feel towards that?
I think it saves them from. I think it's important that you be able to save people from the pain of not only being just being alive is just full of pain, and to be able to be relieved of that pain before you're even your heart's beating is just and to be put in a place of pure there's just somebody. Not to get political here, but we're talking about saving lives.
Right. They're still alive. They get to live. They have a heartbeat, but they realize that the mental strain of being, the child of a rape victim could greatly strain their psychological mind in the real world. So that's why immediately from birth they plug these babies into a Matrix-esque simulation. Within our we're 3 layers deep into simulation right now. And so they put these babies into an even deeper simulation where they grow up with loving parents and go to school with a normal life and have their first kiss, a girlfriend, a wife, children of their own, and then they die and it was never actually real. I mean, are you supportive of this? I know I voted.
Of course, I do. I think there's something sketchy about the fact that they have they're implementing the de-aging formula on these kids so that they go through this full life in the simulation and they die and we just plug them into a new simulation. I don't understand why we have to keep them going through endless loops. I feel like that could open up some plot holes.
Yeah. I mean,
it's also, you also gotta consider the amount of money this is wasting to keep them
Well, you're talking about the 10.99 a month, 24-day free trial, reincarnation simulation, and that's only legal in a few states. So,
I think it's still important to note that those plans won't be legal until this national bill is legal, though. And also, it's important to consider that states were gone away with 26 years ago, and that some states still think they're states is just completely ridiculous.
It's a very old-fashioned thing. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. To believe that
it's important to bring up.
Yeah.
But I think that we only have 26 states, and 25 of those are still holding on to the belief that they are in fact individual states is ridiculous.
I agree.
I think that nuclear war is a reasonable response.
I mean, only 90s kids will remember Nebraska. What the fuck is Nebraska? And remember when there was South and North California? What the fuck is it? It's South and North Carolina and Dakota. What the fuck? Like, there was a time when South Dakota, North Dakota, South Korea, North Korea, South Vietnam, North Vietnam. Who the fuck cares? It's all Dakota, Korea, Nam.
And not too many people realize this, but at one time there's actually a southern hemisphere too. It's the government tried to bury this up, but we here at Lunar Wisdom Gaming News, we know all the facts, and we're beyond the brainwashing simulation. We bypassed that, and we're just in the regular simulation.
Well, back when it's hard to believe that there was a time when you would go to, say, the so-called equator, and there wasn't a wall there. Back when Donald Trump the 15th decided he just said, fuck it, and built a whole ring around Earth's equator, chopping the whole planet in half. And now there's two different civilizations. You got the north half of Earth, which I know for sure exists, and the bottom half of Earth with, okay, whatever.
And I think the people I can't stand are these crazy people who believe that the Earth is in fact round. It's obviously a flat Earth, and round Earthers are just the scum of the country, and it's just terrible to see.
My mom raised me to believe that the Earth is a Mobius strip, but I mean that it looks flat to us. So I think it's I understand. I'll buy either at this point, really. And to think that at one point people considered back when there was no proof of a celestial being, a god that created all things. Now we've proven it. I mean it's been proven for centuries now that there is indeed a god, and we speak to him frequently, and we've had him on the podcast before. But,
of course. And then no one else was able to get him but us. I think that just really speaks to our level of intelligence and superior knowledge.
Well, my secretary, you may know him as Joe Rogan, very, underground. He has his own show, but nowhere near as popular as Lunar Wisdom Gaming News bullshit. He said.
Oh, that's bad. What did he say?
No, I'm just saying, he's like, hey, Jonathan, I said don't ever speak to me. And he said, I'm sorry, but you do want God himself on your podcast, right? And I'm like, well, is the sky blue, retard? Get me God on my podcast. And thus, God was on the podcast the same day that Master Chief was announced for PlayStation All-Stars 5. How do you feel towards that?
I think that was just... It had to be God at work doing that. Like, that he agreed to join us, and at the same time releasing PlayStation All-Stars. I think it was pretty clear he wanted to talk about that. And we didn't talk about it on the show, but I think we all knew it was going on.
Yeah, when God decided to have Master Chief in the PlayStation All-Stars Part 5, which was on the Nintendo Switch 3, I believe. And it was the crossover with Smash Brothers, meaning the roster was...
Oh, it was the new 3DS 3. I think that... the new Switch 3. The new Switch 3.
Right. But the Switch DS, where it's just two switches on a hinge, that was revolutionary. Very immersive experience. But they had the PlayStation All-Stars and Smash Brothers crossover for that system. And it sold like 200 million units? Or was it billion?
I think you might be underestimating it. I think it's closer to about 16 billion units. I think is about accurate.
That does sound right. I think
yeah.
The Switch DS that sold about 100 billion units galaxy wide.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen people as far as Ganymede playing on the Switch DS. When I went on vacation to Saturn's moon Titan to swim in the ethane lakes, I saw kids playing on it there, and I just brought a tear to my eye. It might have been Titan's atmosphere, but just to know that kids are out there enjoying such good video games.
Yeah, it's really important that kids get their daily allowance of sitting in there to get their amount of nutrition, exercise they. The chair exercises are.
It is. It really is. Well, I've exercised all of my future gaming news that I'm allowed to share with you. Thank you very much. But Ben, just give your simulation one more look. Do you have any more information that you're legally allowed to share without being
It sounds like the CIA is. I better take care of that. I have been Swine.
And I've been Jonathan.
I will see you.
And
I will see you, assuming I make it out of this alive.
Yeah, assuming they don't euthanize you for sharing your gaming information here on this Agent YouTube platform that went defunct back in the year 2020. I'll be glad to have you on episode 2 of Lunar Wisdom Gaming News coming out tomorrow.
Yep.
See ya, dude. It's been fun. Thank you so much for being my new daily co-host of this show.
Of course. And you, so it's daily. You want to record again in 2 minutes?
Yeah. By then they should announce more games and more.
Of course.
More trailers and more political statements. I probably shouldn't have brought up, but.
Are we still recording?
Listen, you son of a bitch. What the fuck's your problem? You wanna sit here and say that I'm a goddamn fucking Russian? You get in my face when I don't beat your goddamn ass, you son of a bitch. You piece of shit. You fucking goddamn fucker. Listen, fuckhead. You don't fucking cross the line. Get that through your goddamn fucking head. Stop pushing your shit. You're the people that have fucked this country over and gang raped the shit out of and lost an election. So stop shooting your mouth off. Blame it on the enemy. You got that, you goddamn